Today, the latest weapons, coupled with the fighting skill of the American soldier, stand ready, on the alert all over the world to defend this country, you, the American people, against aggression. This is The Big Picture, an official television report to the nation from the United States Army. Now, to show you part of the big picture, here is Sergeant Stuart Queen.
On August 16th, 1898, 4 days after Hawaii became a part of our nation, the United States Army became an important part of the island community. Since then, under the impact of 2 world wars and the Korean conflict, the Army in Hawaii has expanded enormously. Today, the Hawaiian Islands represent a multi-million-dollar base of operations for American defense forces in the Pacific Ocean area, as we will see as we look in on the life of the soldier in Hawaii.
Hawaii, just the sound of the word, soft and gentle and lyrical, seems to suggest what the islands are like. For here are islands of paradise, blessed by nature as few lands are blessed, with proud towering cliffs looking down over deep fertile valleys, all basking in a climate described by one word, perfect. Wherever you turn in Hawaii, beauty bathes your eye in nature's wonders. It may be the manicured green of a formal garden. It may be the gleaming whiteness of a sandy beach. Whatever it is, people enjoy themselves in Hawaii. Yes, it's fun, even if you taste salt water along the way. Thousands of tourists come to Hawaii each year. At Honolulu, they are met in the traditional Hawaiian fashion. It doesn't take long for the visitor to Hawaii to understand why people leave the islands with hearts as heavy as the strings of fragrant leis around their necks. There is another side to the Hawaiian story, business and industry. Honolulu is constantly expanding with impressive buildings reflecting a forward-looking community. In tune with this alert spirit, good roads and a network of highways and throughways afford islanders swift transportation from one place to another. Huge sugar plantations sprawl over the 4 principal Hawaiian islands. The sugar industry is the source of more than 25% of the territory's income. One doesn't usually think of Hawaii as a place for cowboys, but they're a familiar sight on the islands where there are many thriving cattle ranches. But when one thinks of Hawaii, one does think of pineapple. About 80% of the world's supply comes from the islands. The pineapple industry returns over $108 million annually to the Hawaiian economy. Yes, the white-flecked seas rolling in on the islands and the very salt-sprayed air have always conveyed the feel of peace and plenty and pleasure. A certain Sunday, Americans will never forget. The heavy black smoke billowing up over Pearl Harbor told the story. America's defense had been cut short, and men paid with their lives for this unguarded moment. Years later, on the battleship Missouri, there was written the end to the Japanese dreams of that December 7th. Japanese cameramen were among those present to record the evidence that America, caught with her defenses down, had rallied to victory. The document signed was as far as could be imagined from the arrogant sneak attack that had led to it. No ifs, no buts, no maybes. It was an unconditional surrender. Yes, the deck of the Missouri was a long, long way from Pearl Harbor, a way paved with American sacrifice, drenched in the blood of men who never lived to see Tokyo Bay. Many of them lie now in Punchbowl Crater on the island of Oahu in Hawaii, in the quiet of the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific. In Hawaii, they are especially revered for what they have done in the past. The line after line of grave markers gleaming in the sun serve also as a lesson to the future. And that lesson is, be prepared. Having learned the hard way, America now maintains a hard-hitting military force in Hawaii, always on the alert, always ready for any emergency. These ground forces have been among those pulled back from more forward areas in the Pacific to locations on Hawaii, Okinawa, and the continental United States. In the event of a sudden emergency, from Hawaii and Okinawa, as well as the continental United States, powerful ground forces can be airlifted quickly to any trouble spot. Hub of the Army defense activities is at Fort Shafter on the outskirts of Honolulu. The increased U.S. responsibilities in the Far East and Asia have expanded the scope of the Army's mission in the Pacific. Within Fort Shafter's Richardson Hall is a communications center for a Pacific defense with responsibilities extending far beyond the Hawaiian island perimeter. At this beautiful palm-fringed military post is also located the Hawaiian Army Base Command, which has supply and maintenance responsibilities for the U.S. Army Pacific Command. But to most soldiers in the islands, home base is likely to be Schofield Barracks, still carrying mementos of what happened December 7th. Established in 1908, it is the largest overseas Army post. A wide variety of facilities for recreation, as well as training, are available for soldiers and their dependents. Schofield is the home of the famous 25th Infantry Division, the Tropic Lightning Outfit. The 25th was stationed in Hawaii when the Japanese attacked and went on to fight many valiant battles in World War II and Korea. On August 20th, 1954, after 4 years of duty and 10 campaigns in Korea, the division was ordered back to its original home in Schofield Barracks. Into Honolulu Harbor, past the landmark of the Aloha Tower, steamed the troop ship. The division had been away a long time, and the welcome was, well, just the sort of warm welcome Hawaii is famous for. Coming off the gangplank, the men run the gauntlet of friends and relatives on the pier. After an absence of 11 years, it's back to Schofield and home. The 25th Division is composed of some very renowned regiments. The Wolfhounds of the 27th Infantry, the 14th Infantry Regiment, known as the Golden Dragons, and the 35th Infantry, the Cacti Regiment. 3 battle-toughened regiments at the heart of the fighting 25th, the pride of Hawaii. focal point of another aspect of island defense is the magnificent Iolani Palace. In an interview with Governor Samuel Wilder King, the role of the National Guard in the defense picture of the islands is spelled out.
Sir, everyone is familiar with the outstanding record of Hawaii's soldiers in wartime, and I understand, too, that Hawaii's produced and has some very fine peacetime soldiers.
Yes, we have a very fine National Guard. It's recruited almost up to the full strength allowed by law, and they're fine soldiers in peacetime. We keep them training for the necessity of serving in the war. We have both an infantry unit, or 2 infantry regiments, and a Hawaii Air Guard also. During the last encampment, they had an attendance of over 98%. Some units had 100% attendance, and they were very highly praised by the Army inspectors and the officers who supervise their training.
Each year at National Guard encampment time, the orders stream out. A sugarcane worker on Maui, a man on a tractor in Kauai, a truck driver on the leeward side of Oahu, a fireman in Honolulu. All temporarily put aside their tools of daily living. Goodbyes are said to the men at work, in the office, or out on the range. And all over the place you hear last-minute promises to write early and often. At the National Guard Armory, they report in the brightly colored aloha shirts that mark the resident islander. And come out wearing the uniform of their country. They board trucks, and the next few weeks finds the National Guard unit rounding into shape as a smooth functioning team. The active duty period for the National Guard is climaxed by a traditional pass and review. No wonder the islanders have affectionately dubbed it their ukulele army. Also working closely with active duty soldiers are the reserve units at Fort DeRussy near Waikiki. Every man gets plenty of weapon instruction before he goes into the field. For the people of Hawaii, young and old, the men of the Army, the National Guard, and the reserves often demonstrate the use of military equipment. The younger element really gets a bang out of it. In an effort to cement relations between military and civilian communities, visitors are frequently invited to examine what the taxpayer's dollar is paying for in the way of military hardware. Here again, nobody shows more interest than the small fry. Rare is the boy who will miss an opportunity to clamber aboard a real tank and see what makes it tick. It's great fun for the kids and adds up to even more friendly relations with combat troops stationed in Hawaii. Combat troops are not the whole story in the modern military establishment. Tripler General Hospital, one of the finest institutions in the Army medical system, is located on a hilltop overlooking the city of Honolulu. Throughout the huge hospital, you can see signs of busy activity. It may be emergency surgery, or perhaps a young man is being carefully lowered into a physical therapy bath. In either case, there's always the assurance of a nurse's smile. On the open porch, another nurse walks along with a patient. as he tries to get the hang of crutches and does very well at it. Arts and crafts help keep a mind away from brooding. And in the mess hall, the meals are a morale builder too. No doubles in potatoes for you, Sergeant, but the green salad's fine. Children of servicemen depend on the nurses too. As to the kids, the nurses are always getting in their hair, but they love it. This is not to say it's all work and no play. A telephone call often means a date. And a date can mean a top-down drive along a breezy shoreline. There are plenty of places to just stop, look, and listen to the crashing of waves onto the beach below. And it's always fun to go down to Waikiki, where oceanfront hotels loom up against the sky. Plenty of surfboards are available. What better idea than to paddle out and catch a few waves? Riding these babies over Waikiki waves is a lot like hanging on to an ornery bronc. But a lot of men like to spend off-duty hours in a more relaxed way. A bull session under some palm trees, gently waving in the breeze, is their idea, more or less, of heaven. Other islands of the Hawaiian group are sometimes visited. Only a short flight away is the airport at Hilo, Hawaii, where off-duty servicemen and women see what life is like away from Honolulu. As they pause by a mountain waterfall, they realize the natural splendor of the islands is reflected everywhere. Hot dogs over a fire. What an appetite that bracing mountain air gives you. There's always a practical joker in every crowd. As afternoon draws to a close, it's around the uke for a little harmonizing. A Hawaiian-born soldier teaches the girls how to shake a little. When they show the Hawaii version of rock and roll, they'll be the life of the party back in the States. But Army personnel know they have a job to do in Hawaii, and when on duty, it's an all-out training effort. Close-quarter bayonet training is stressed under guidance of World War II and Korean combat veterans. Again and again, the men practice with rifle butt and bayonet until the crisp motions are second nature. The soldier gets his share, too, of hour after hour on the hot, baking ground of the rifle range. It's ready on the right, ready on the left, ready on the firing line. And he learns how to work with the heavy stuff, too. But what do you do in the infantry? You don't spend your time swimming at Waikiki, that's for sure. You pound it out mile after mile on dusty side roads, on mountain trails. Sometimes even up into the snow-covered slopes of Mauna Kea. And now and then something special comes up, the climax to weeks of planning and tough conditioning. A field maneuver. Off in a remote area, tents are set up after a day's march. A foxhole's only a few feet deep, but to the man who digs it, it's Grand Canyon. Camouflage. Now you see it, now you don't. Telephone lines are strung. And the position is protected by a network of defense points. On the morning the exercise is to start, The commanding general arrives for a last-minute inspection of the terrain where the mock combat will take place. Meanwhile, the men are given a briefing, and within minutes, on a nearby hill, platoon officers receive instructions.
Let's go over the main points once more. Lieutenant Payne, your first platoon's zone of action is limited on the right by that row of trees in the draw, and on the left by that scar on the hill. Lieutenant Willie, your second platoon zone of action is limited on the right by that scar on the hill, and on the left by that lone tree on the finger.
All right, sir.
Lieutenant Ebasagawa, your third platoon will be in reserve and will be prepared for employment in the zone of either assault platoon. Lieutenant Welch, your fourth platoon fire plan has been approved and ready for action. Keep that mortar fire ready to go upon request. Now, are there any questions?
Sir, I don't like the looks of those woods down there on my left. You think you can get me some mortar fire down there?
You'll have the mortar fire.
All right, sir, thank you.
Okay, platoon leaders, move out. Prepare your platoons for action on my word.
A sergeant makes an arm motion, and men move forward. The same action is repeated in various sectors of a broad front. Up ahead, waiting, is the aggressor force, serving as a mock enemy during combat maneuvers. Testing communications under field conditions is one of the main purposes of this realistic exercise, as the men push forward in a well-organized advance. Under cover of a simulated artillery barrage, supported by tanks, the infantry continues to push ahead. But the aggressors do not give way. The enemy is now within range of small arms fire. Then, throwing everything it has into a last-ditch offensive, aggressor brings up its own tanks. The tanks are spotted by forward observers. The aggressor tank is hit, but not stopped. Medics get valuable training in removing simulated casualties from the front line. But for every man knocked out of action, there are many others who keep on advancing, firing as they overrun aggressors' positions and flush out the enemy. Mission accomplished. The maneuver is over now, and the men start the long hike back. They are tired, but step out smartly, with pride in themselves and the uniform they wear. Yes, morale is high in Hawaii, and that is why on remote roads of the islands, you often hear the tramp of marching feet, and soaring out above everything, the stirring voice of a fighting army on the march.
Hawaii, the crossroads of the Pacific, has proven its value again and again as a bastion of defense for the freedom-loving nations of the world. This is Sergeant Stuart Queen, inviting you to be with us again next week for another look at your Army in action on The Big Picture.
The Big Picture is a weekly television report to the nation on the activities of the Army at home and overseas. Produced by the Army Pictorial Center, presented by the United States Army in cooperation with this station. You too can be an important part of the big picture. You can proudly serve with the best equipped, the best trained, the best fighting team in the world today, the United States Army.